Hi guys, I'm Daniel Park and I'm a Korean teacher teaching English in South Korea. I teach mainly elementary to middle school students. I live in Toronto, Canada for about 2 years, and I graduated from Macquarie University in Australia studying translation and interpreting. Canada and Australia, both countries are multicultural nations, right? So you see people with different racial backgrounds and you get to try their traditional food. So staying in both countries really expanded my horizon and helped me to gain insight into their culture. And let me talk about how I learn English. I think learning a language is the same as a workout or going to the gym. For example, when you decide to work out, you have all these different plans, such as a diet plan and a workout plan, hoping that you could build muscle or lose weight within a couple months, right? But when you actually hit the gym and start working out, you may find that things are not working out the way as you planned, right? That's when you feel discouraged and demotivated. So I think the same goes for a learning language, especially English. When you start learning English or studying English as a beginner, you get all excited about how much your English will improve in the future, right? So you might buy a bunch of English textbooks and go to different English academies, hoping that you could master English within 6 months or a year. But, you get pretty disappointed when you realize your English hasn't improved that much, right? I think this is partly because of the advertisement from this big English academy. They say anyone can master English within 6 months or a year, right? But we all know this is not true. It is impossible, right? It could take at least a year to be able to hold a conversation in English, right? So what I would recommend you is that when you study English as a beginner, make sure you use the right materials, meaning materials that work for you and suit your level. If you start learning English with the materials that are too difficult for you, you're likely to give up, right? So I think it's really important to know your level. I'm not trying to discourage you or anything, but maybe you might want to start with the storybooks for kids, right? Because they're fun and interesting. When you're having fun, you're likely to continue on what you do, right? And if you learn new words, phrases, and expressions in English, try to use them in real life, right? Maybe you could go to language exchange or language meetup to practice what you have learned with native English speakers or anyone who speaks English, right? If you don't want to use them, what's the point of learning English, right? But anyway, learning English is not as easy as you might think it is, right? So, take your time and see the learning process as a journey. And at some point in your learning, you might get into a rut where you feel demotivated and burned out. You feel like you are not smart enough I know too well because I have been there. I've been there before many times. So whenever you feel like giving up, just think about what you have achieved so far. And, remember, you are very close to your goal, right? So just work hard. Hard work always pays off in the end, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below. Then I will see you in the next video. Bye.